Welcome to the Graduate Student Professional Development Series, Career Planning Workshop. We'll have Melissa Baird presenting today. She's an anthropologist in the Social Sciences Department, and she works at the graduate school. So she'll be kind of giving a short presentation on how to plan ahead for your career and kind of how to set goals and be successful. So thank you.
Well, good afternoon, all, and good afternoon to our folks online that are joining us. So let me just admit, oh, we're admitted. Okay, good. So today is going to be a short presentation about career planning and thinking about that in a strategic way here at Michigan Tech and how to get the most of where you are. So the famous Robert Frost poem, The Road Not Taken, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took, anybody know? Doesn't have to be exact. The road, yes, the road less traveled, right? And that has made all the difference, right? Pretty famous. We all know that. We think about that oftentimes when we're thinking about our journeys as these diverging roads in the wood. But what if instead, and if we're thinking about our career planning, two roads diverged in a wood, and I prepared for both. And that's made all the difference. So my goal here today is to think a little bit differently about that journey, that there's not one singular kind of goal for your career planning. I will be insert professor, engineer, all these kinds of things, and instead thought a little bit more broadly and integratively about your career goals. And we'll talk a little bit about what I mean by that. So today I'm going to ask you to think about ways to use where you are. So where are we? This is kind of not a rhetorical question. Where are we? We're at a engineering school, a technological school. We're not in an urban area, but we're thinking about Michigan Tech and all of the resources, which are numerous, and resources can be people, places, centers, library resources, career services, all of these kinds of things. And then to think about that in a way where you can create not just that singular path, but a multiple paths that are integrated around your career planning. So the other thing that I wanted to kind of bring up when I'm thinking about career planning for graduate students or for those in general, really, I want you to think about and imagine yourself beyond your role here as a graduate student, right? It's real easy to get caught up in this identity. I am a graduate student, and you get kind of blinders on. It's a big job. There's lots of things connected to it, or you're a lab member, or you're an engineer, or you're a social scientist. I want you to think beyond those kinds of things and think about and envision ahead, what do you want to do, right? What do you want to do beyond Michigan Tech? Where do you imagine yourself being? And then think about the strategic plans to get there. So, well, we'll come back to this. Where do you see yourself in 2 to 5 years? I want you to really think about it. Where are you living? What does your work environment look like? Is it a big lab? Is it a small office in Minneapolis with hardwood floors and hanging plants? Who are your colleagues? What do they look like? Where are you? Do you go out for lunch? Are you bringing your lunch? Where does this workplace look like? And I want you to really think about, maybe you can't get into it today, but as you're moving forward, like where do you want to be? Are you on the West Coast? Are you in New Zealand? Are you in the Himalayas, the foothills of the Himalayas? Are you working on Wall Street or Silicon Valley? Really start thinking about where you want to be, and particularly how to use where you're at to get there. Is anybody brave enough to give us a where do you see yourself in 2 to 5 years? Okay, good. Phew. I was holding my breath. Yeah. So industry, your first job, is it in a city? Is it on the West Coast? East Coast? International? Okay. So start kind of imagining that thing, because it's real easy to get caught up into this role as I am a graduate student and this is what I'm doing. And then you get out the other end and it's like, well, what am I doing now? So I want you to start repositioning and kind of positioning yourself as this future person working in an industry. I'm putting you on the West Coast. It's hardwood floors and hanging plants for you as well. So, okay. This has, let's see, stopped. Oh, there we go. So the advice that I have today, as we're moving through, and I'll give you some specifics, is do not wait. Start planning now. Revisit your plan often and reach out. And I'll go through what I mean by this in just a moment. So don't wait. Start planning now. Revisit your plan often and reach out. How many people here are planning their career strategies? Me too. Okay, great. Right now, how many people are not really thinking about it and going to wait a little while? Go ahead. Yeah. So what I'm going to say is, yes, you said, okay. I'm going to say, let's start thinking about it. Let's start strategizing about it in whatever way that you like to think about things, and really start figuring it out. So some strategies on how to do that. One strategy I might offer is reverse engineering your career, right? And this can go a couple different ways. So you can look on platforms like LinkedIn. I think we have Handshake here, right? LinkedIn is actually the one that's the big one that they use all over. Or a site like usajobs.gov. Go to a particular company that you might want to work at, look at their human resource websites, and start looking at the ads. What are they looking for, right? What kind of jobs do they have available? And if you find one, like a dream job, maybe the 5-year out job, capture that, make a PDF of it, start putting it into a teaching file so you can start looking at it. I'm not going to tell you why in just a moment. So for example, let's say you wanted to be an environmental health scientist. Now there's a couple different reasons why we want to look at this particular ad. One is this is a GS11 level, that's kind of high up. So it's kind of maybe a reach for someone, maybe who's coming out with a master's. But if you look at it, it has really good, it's much longer than this. It has really good synthesizes what you might be doing. That's one level for looking at these jobs. But second of all, you can start seeing about maybe what you don't have, okay? To qualify this, you need to have at least this kind of experience. You need to be assisting laboratory research involving public health data, analyzing experimental endpoints, preparing scientific reports. So let's say you fit this job, but you've never prepared a scientific report. You can start thinking about, okay, so I want to be an environmental health scientist, but one of the things I need to do is prepare scientific reports. I haven't really done that. Where do I find that experience, right? So you can look at these things and these kinds of jobs and say, this is something I have. This is something I don't have. How do I get it while I'm here at Tech and let Tech pay for it, right? So, and it's great. You'd be really surprised. And this works at all different levels. Or let's say you're an applied physicist on a material scientist on research and development, right? You have to have your bachelor's and your degrees, 4 to 6 years of analytical engineering experience. But look at this one, experience leading and developing a team of people. Ruh-roh, right? I haven't done that. So what am I going to do? How am I going to get some experience leading and developing a team of people? Any ideas? Yes. Yes, get involved in a student org. Any other ideas? Join a community group. In my department, we have a mentoring experiences for graduate students. And this is an opportunity for you to mentor an undergrad. So you can start doing those kinds of things, right? You could choose to just ignore this and say, well, I don't really need to, I'm just gonna get this job. But it's better to strategize. So that's what I'm saying is start this stuff early. And also start with like what you really want to do. Like don't limit yourself. Imagine yourself in that career, that job. You want to be a consultant. I want to live in Switzerland. I want to be working with the UN. I want to do all these things. Like really imagine yourself in these positions. And then just start building it towards it. And one of the things I would recommend you do, and I can provide some materials later, I've been working on a folder, is what I call the career planning portfolio. That's what I called it yesterday on the slide, but I actually do this. So your career planning portfolio is literally just a Google Doc or a document on your computer, or it could be a drawer in your thing. It has resume and CVs, right? Those take a lot of time. There's a difference between them. And this is not, we're not going to get into that. You might have in that your teaching or research statements. You might have an infographic or white papers that you're developing for different projects. So whatever project you're working on, one of the things you might think about is creating an infographic, one-page sheet that describes what you're doing with a nice little infographic on there that when you're talking to people, you can say, this is what I'm doing. I have a meeting with you coming up. I'm going to bring one of these to you, with you, so that when we're talking, that she understands what I'm saying, those kinds of things. In there, you're going to be picking job ads of dream jobs. And you're downloading these and saving them as PDFs, so you have the language in there as well. They have wonderful language in these ads of what they're looking for, and you can say, I do that, but I've been describing it in this other way, right? That's really, really useful. I do that all the time. I already said that. Your skills in human resource friendly language, right? That stuff's out there, and it's totally can get it. Videos and podcasts of people who do what you want to do. Start getting familiar with what they do, how they operate in the world. Listen to podcasts of people in your fields who are talking not just about what they're doing, but in maybe other contexts. I think this might be it. Oh, whoop. Okay. So, and then the last thing is networking, right? Networking is one of these words that, particularly in the academy, people go, oh no, I don't do that. I don't network, right? Networking, at least for my field in social science, oh no, we don't network. But actually networking is all about relationship building. It's getting to know people, it's combining efforts. It's not just about, it's not extractive if you do it well. It's actually reciprocal, right? It's about relationships, it's about reciprocal things. Maybe somebody might give an informational interview, but then you might help them later. It's a reciprocal kind of thing. It's expected in most career paths, right? People want to help you. People want to share what they do and their lessons. It's a great way of understanding new trends, right? And really getting the temperature on that. And then finally, networking is okay. Okay, and particularly, I had to get around this because it felt very gendered to me. I didn't want to do it, but I'm doing more of it lately, and it can feel a little weird, but it's okay, and it's really essential for you to be out there doing that. Okay. Oops, we gotta let someone in. Can you let someone in? Okay. All right. So that's all I have. And I'm gonna just go back to the beginning, and we can open it up to questions or comments, or how would you want to run this?
So we'll open up to questions now. If you guys have a question for Melissa, feel free to ask. I can turn the mics on, so just speak loudly and we'll hear you. Or online Zoom too. Feel free to put a question in chat.
Yes. Erin.
Presentation is very, I can attest that this is very good guidance. So one question I have is, you know, as you are looking at these job descriptions and you're looking at dream jobs, and I guess what's your take on, like, do you have to have everything that the job ad is saying that they need? Or like, how do you deal with that? Like, how, yeah.
That's a really important question. And studies have shown, I love that statement. Studies have shown that people, particularly it comes up on class and gender level where folks won't, they'll say, oh, I have 5 of these, but I need these 2. Oftentimes, you're not going to be able to check every box. So don't be discouraged from that. You know, get yourself out there and give it a try. And you know, get really strategic about it. I had a colleague recently who applied for a job that didn't have one of the big parts of it. But what they did was they kind of reframed that as something that what they could learn on the job because they had all this other experience. And this person was successful on this search. So you're not going to be able to check all the boxes, but you're trying to get at least you're trying to get yourself in the door for that interview, right? Get into the room. Once you get into the room and are confident in what you're doing, it will work. So we might want to have a second part of this kind of development series on career planning. It's about really getting to know the planks of who you are and what you do so that when you walk in that room and you've got that 15 minutes of somebody's time, you're going to be the one that they're going to be saying, well, let's make that person an offer. So, and that takes, you don't just show up. Maybe a few of us could, I can't. You have to really practice and think about what your planks are. What do? I do this and not that. So that when they ask you that question, just don't go. You're really just ready to just go there and have that conversation with those employers. Yes.
For the white guys or international students? For the South, you know, I was looking at the website. USA job questions for any of them.
Yes.
LinkedIn, also job advertisements.
Really? Yeah, it's a very North American focused presentation I just pitched, right? And that, no, that's good. And I do work internationally. I work internationally. I've got a lot of international colleagues, and I'm still have the very North American focus. So I would expand it to international, thinking of places like UNESCO and World Heritage and other kinds of human resource groups. And specifically, it's really disappointing that a lot of some of these jobs and even grant opportunities are not available to international students. So that might be something I might need to think a little bit more about and maybe provide you another response that can get sent out. Have any suggestions?
I'm going to crunch.
Yeah.
Feels like writing a dissertation and looking for a job.
Yeah, but
All of them together.
and that's a good point. It does seem like a lot. You're writing your dissertation. The last thing you want to be doing is looking for jobs, right? But at the end of the day, when your brain is a little bit tired, which I call my do what you can do time, that's the time you open up that computer and you're looking around and you're just thinking about things and you spend some of that time so that when you come out at the end of that dissertation, when you're charged and excited or tired, you're ready. You've got some ideas to where you're going to go rather than, oh no, what am I going to do? And this one might be a self-disclosure thing. So I wish I had done this. I trained to be a professor at the University of Oregon. And I was so excited. I got done. I'm a PhD and no job, right? So I'm adjuncting at teaching 4 classes at 2 different universities. My department could care less. They were done with me. And I had prepared to be an anthropologist, professor. There's not many jobs, right? So I was not prepared for anything else. I hadn't thought about what skills I have as an anthropologist, which there are many. I hadn't done all that legwork. And fortunately, I mean, I got a postdoc and then I got a job, but it was a little luck, right? It was a little luck and a lot of hard work that, I wasn't prepared for something else and I should have been. Because it was a space that I don't recommend for anybody. So, strategize.
So you say it was luck that sort of set you up to, a job. Do you think that had to do with relationships? Did that have to do with other interests in your life that you cultivated that also helped to create those connections?
Yeah.
In order to bring everything together?
Yes. It was like strategizing on another level. I thought, oh, I got this great idea. I'm going to organize this big session. I'm going to get these people involved. And, that it kind of catapulted from there. And just luckily there was a postdoc on that kind of new topic. But it was relationship building outside of my university. Back to that idea of using where you're at, I should have used the University of Oregon's resources. There was many language training, research centers, grants, all kinds of hidden resources are available. The policy program there, I didn't take advantage of it. I should have been taking some classes and getting to know folks over there. Had I done it differently, if I had it to do again, I would have used, and that's a terrible term, I don't mean it in that sense, but I would have taken advantage of all the resources at the University of Oregon that they had to bestow upon me, and I would have taken advantage of those, and I would have come out the other side with another idea of what I wanted to do, and be ready to do that. I wish I had known. I was just like the life of the mind, and then literally the door shut behind me, and it was a pretty scary place. It doesn't have to be. I have friends also. Better anthropologists that didn't go in that path that have wonderful jobs. And they had to do all this retooling after the degree, which was stressful. So do it where here. Now for engineers and scientists and such, you have a whole different kind of approach. So it's going to be different. I'm thinking as a social scientist. Other questions? Or how many people here are going to go home and do their portfolio? And if you think about it and you want another iteration of this, we could do it at the grad school or something. Let me know if there's things that are coming up. How many people have been working on their resumes? You know the standards in your field?
Is there a better way to know the standard in the field than to look at experts in the field's resumes or CVs?
I'm kind of thinking that myself. So higher ed resumes, I thought they were only 2 pages. When I looked at somebody who had gotten a big job at a university. I looked at their resume and they had bullet points. It wasn't 2 pages. It was like 9 pages with bullet points of all the things they did. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know that. So there's going to be some networking. You need to ask people, right? And you can be strategic about who you ask. There's lots of opportunities to do that. I don't know if the 2-page resume might be standard in, let's say, engineering fields. Anyone know? What's yours?
So I have a resume.
Yeah.
Probably 10 pages. Because of graduate school, and then probably a CV that's longer. So
yep. And the CV is longer, and it's a different animal. So you really need to figure it out. Again, there's information out there, but you have to get creative about finding it. It shouldn't be that challenging. And do you just do your resume and put it in the folder and forget it? You have to update it and then think about the trends, right? So maybe you've done something in one way, you've pitched it in this one way, but maybe you can repitch it in a different way. Maybe it serves a different purpose and a new trend. All right.
Can I just ask one more question?
Yes, please.
I want to ask a question about confidence.
Good boy.
So as,
Yeah, let me do too.
you know, it might feel kind of strange for some folks to list their accomplishments. And there are some people who want to put everything that they've ever done. And then some people who are like, you know, this was really important and this was really important. I'm gonna leave other things out. I don't know if that has to do with confidence exactly, but how do you find that medium where you are where you are showcasing the cool stuff that you've done, you're showing your personality, you're showing what makes you different from other candidates. How do you have any advice about doing that?
That's a tough one. I do, and it's culturally specific. You know, so maybe over pitching to a certain group might not be good to do, but on the other hand, as a first generation scholar, I tend not to promote myself. I don't do a lot of self-promotion, and it's not good. Because I underplay it, I undersell it, and it's like, well, didn't you do such and such? And it's like, well, yeah, you know, because in my culture, that was not acceptable. You don't brag. So there's a little bit of that. So again, going back to the networking, find a group of people that you can get some feedback to say, is this coming off too strong? Am I underselling myself? Do I have too much on this resume? Get other eyes on it. And that's another thing. You don't want to do this by yourself. I do a lot of what I call self-mentoring. I don't recommend it, you know, because self-mentoring, it doesn't really work. So get yourself out there. You'll get it's weird. Not everybody's going to be receptive. Not everyone wants to help, but most people do. Most people want to, you know, work with you and help you be the best person for that role and present it in a way that you're going to make it over that finish line for benefit. Okay. Great. Well, thank you all for your time today, and I'm available. Send me an email. I'm accessible, and we can follow up this conversation in other ways. Okay.
Thanks, Melissa.